Miami Dolphins mode. Yeah. Miami Dolphins mode. What? Miami Dolphins. Woo mode. Yeah. Woo.
What's up, Dolphin fans, and thank you for coming on the Miami Dolphins Mo channel. Today I'm going to get into the defensive line depth chart and what type of schemes the Dolphins may use for the defensive line, and compare and contrast from last year. Also, go over the players that we picked up, from free agency and the draft. We picked up 5 linemen in total through those two things, free agency and the draft. Also, we have some players coming back from last year, and I'll just go over a little bit each of them, and see what I see, and maybe a little bit of my expectations for this upcoming year with the defensive line. All right, so let's get right into it. First off, we have Christian Wilkins coming back. Last year was his rookie year. He was a first round pick in the draft. He had, I believe, he had a stats of the rookie with the most tackles, in D tackle with the most tackles, right? Not most tackles overall, but the D tackle with the most tackles in the NFL for rookie. And he was all right. Okay, he was, it wasn't really spectacular, like jump off the screen. I could say he was serviceable, and in the run game, you saw him there, right? But maybe you want to see it be more consistent, and also for him to develop his pass rush, because it really wasn't he wasn't disruptive in the passing game last year, to be honest. And you would think, from drafting him last year, he would have more interference in the pass game, right? He would be more disruptive. And I think in the second year, I'm hoping that from his rookie year to his second year, maybe he gets accustomed to the speed and all that, and maybe the following year, his second year, he'll be a little bit more disruptive. He'll know a little more about what he's doing. He's already had a year under his belt, and it'll come out for him. In the run, he did all right. He did good, but he drafting a guy first round that high, you want him to be more disruptive, right? So it was an okay for rookie season. There were some highlights, like all the tackles that he made. He did disrupt sometimes. It's not like he didn't, but he did disrupt sometimes. He did get in the backfield and on runs, and disrupt things, and he was able to get the man when they were running it. And I think he's one of the reasons why we got a little better 2019 against the run than we were in 2018. Okay, but you definitely want to see more from him. You wouldn't say it's a disappointment. It wasn't a disappointing season, but you expect a little more, right? So we're hoping that the second year, he'll get it. He'll be more disruptive. He'll have the experience and step up, because he has the talent to do it. All right, now the second guy that we're gonna get into. Last year Christian Wilkins was a D end, and a nose tackle. He fluctuated back and forth from those, but it's the three technique, which is the B gap, should be the position where he shines a little better, right? The position that he plays better than being the nose tackle, which is 0 or the 1 gap, which is the A gap, or right in front ahead, like helmet to helmet with the center, right? He covers the center. So that's it. So Devon Godchuk is the second player. He's a D tackle. And he plays a 3, but he plays a D tackle a little more. Devon Godchuk, what he does, he's not disruptive against the pass every now and then, but very seldom. He gets into the backfield on passing plays very seldomly. But his main thing is plugging the holes. Not letting the lineman drive him up. And just like stuffing up a gap. In the run game, he helps out a lot. He does come out, in the run game, he gets a couple tackles behind the line of scrimmage, so he is a factor in there. So, I believe this is going to be his 4th year, right? Remember, we got him with a 5th round pick, so this is actually a good pick. He's been a starter for about 3 years now. If he could get be disruptive in the pass, he would be considered a pretty good player. But as of yet, he's been more serviceable against the run. Okay, that's our D tackle, and he should be the starter. Christian Wilkins should be the starter at the other D end. At the D end, Devon Godchuk should be the starter at nose tackle this upcoming season. And then on the other defensive end, which is a three technique, again, it's just like Christian Wilkins, which is in the three technique, which is the B gap, is Shaq Lawson. I forgot for a second. Shaq Lawson, all right, coming from Buffalo. He's good against the run. Actually, towards the upper half of the ends against the run. So he's definitely going to be against the run better than we were last year. Because we had a lot of difficulty in that. And I'm thinking maybe Shaq Lawson. He did get 6.5, but he was running on a 4-3 defense. I mean, they switch over there, but he was running out of the 4-3, which is actually he's probably rushing from the 5, the 6, or the 7 spot, which is the C gap on the outside of the tackle, right? So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. He might be in that spot, but he might be one of the ones that are interchangeable. Like you could put him in the DN spot, which is the 5 technique. I'm sorry, the 3 technique, or you can move him to outside linebacker. So I don't know what's going to happen here, especially if we run a lot of 3-4s. I believe that now that we got these players that we got and through free agency, we're going to play a little bit more 4-3 defense, which is 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. And if that happens, then you have Shaq Lawson on one side, and you could probably have Emmanuel Ogbah on the other side, right? And then Christian Wilkins and Devon Godchuk in the middle. Right? Say Devon Godchuk will probably be in the 1 technique, which is the A gap, and then Christian Wilkins will probably be in the 3, which is the B gap, and then, the DNs outside of the tackles, right? So, I think that last year we just couldn't do it because we didn't have the personnel. We didn't have DNs that could, disturb the rush or even set the edge, but this year we do. So I think that the 4-3 will be used more this season. It was barely used last season, but I think that's because of the players that we had. All right. So that's what I think so far with these 3 guys. All right. Then after Shaq Lawson, we also picked Emmanuel Ogbah, which I already mentioned. Emmanuel Ogbah is another defensive end. He was a rotational. Both Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogbah were rotational players in their teams. Right. The previous Ogbah with the Chiefs and Shaq Lawson with the Buffalo Bills. They were rotational players. They weren't starters. Right. I think Ogbah had a couple starts, but Shaq Lawson really didn't have too many starts last season. Right. So I think that they're going to be used more. Ogbah is going to be used as a D end. He's either going to be at he's either going to be at the 3 technique. He could even go to the 1 technique. These guys are very interchangeable. Shaq Lawson also could be a D tackle too. So they're just interchangeable. So you can't say this is the guy that's going to be here every single play, because they could change, and it depends on the people, the teams that they're playing against, right? Or even individuals, like a certain guard or a certain tackle, just the way that they play may. So the way that tackle plays, right, on the offensive line for the team that we're playing against, if, say, for instance, Shaq Lawson might be better against him than Ogbah, right? Or vice versa. And then they'll change accordingly. That's what I think is going to happen, right? Okay, so, but Emmanuel Ogbah is a defensive end. He could also be a defensive tackle, very interchangeable. And actually, before he got hurt last season with the Chiefs, he was actually the leading sack leader in the Chiefs, and he wasn't able to finish out the season. He had 6.5 sacks. He probably would have got close to 10 sacks last year if he wouldn't have gotten hurt. So Ogbah, somebody very interesting to be looking at. There might be some extra potential there, and hopefully he's able to be healthy throughout the year. Shaq Lawson, I also think might do something. There's a possibility, that he might explode a little bit. Going under Brian Flores, how Brian Flores, he's a defensive guy. He's starting to get that thing around him that people say he gets everything out of the players. So if he could get some more out of these 2 guys, which are already serviceable, then it'll be a good thing. Okay. We also picked up a rookie, which is Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis, we got him in the draft in the 2nd round, and he comes out of Alabama. He's 6'6". He's 6'6", about 240, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if I'm exactly, but I think it's around 240. He looks like he's gonna occupy double teams. He's gonna be more of a one technique, or he could play a three technique as well, But I think they're gonna have him in the middle, like Devon Gotcha, right? He's gonna be more of his backup, right? Be in the middle and then take up like two blockers, to free up Wilkins, or stuff the run and things like that. And remember, if you see the other videos that I have, in his sophomore year in Alabama, he had 8.5 sacks from the D tackle position. So the other years it wasn't good. He didn't have too many sacks at all the other 2 years. But there is that potential. So maybe if Brian Flores could get it out of him, he might have a shot of taking Devon Godchuk's starting position. But it would have to be, for that to happen, it would have to be him getting those double teams and freeing up Christian Wilkins, and also just getting sacks, right? In order to jump on front ahead of Devon Godchuk, that's been starting for the last 3 years, right? So it's something very interesting. This is interesting. This whole defensive line and the players that they have, because they're different. They're not really all the same. They're kind of the same, but not really. But they come different sizes, different skill sets, and it's interesting. Now, like I said, Raekwon Davis is gonna be that D tackle. If he'll probably be second team. If he has really good and just bursts out of the scene, he might have a chance to start. But I believe that he should be a rotational player. Um, and he'll be there to take up the double team, plug up the run, and things of that nature. I don't think he'll be there in passing situations as of now. You know, maybe he shows something and maybe they put him in there. We don't know yet. It depends on how him and Brian Flores match, how the team, the schemes, match there. And we'll see. But there's something interesting to see with Raekwon Davis, and then also we got this guy. We got him last year, actually, at the end of the season, the Bengals game. Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer. He was with the Baltimore Ravens. He was a seventh round pick for them in 2018, and this guy's big guy, 6'6", 290. Big guy. He says one of the strongest guys on the team. He's he left the Baltimore Ravens, cut him because they were stacked at depth and they needed center help last year, and that's why he kind of and he wasn't playing too much with the Ravens. But what happened? He showed out in preseason, and that's why he made the roster. Being a seventh round pick is tough to make the roster, but he did. So that says something, especially in the Baltimore Ravens defense that is stacked at D line every single year. But when he came over from Baltimore, he played in his first game against Cincinnati. He had a sack. He had, I think, two knockdowns of the football. He was active against the run. He was stopping things. He got some in the backfield. So he had a good performance when in the 2 games that he was with us. So he was on the second string. He was behind David Gottschalk, and it's interesting to see what he did in the offseason and how he could come over here knowing that he has more of a chance to make the team, because we're looking for the right D lineman, and 6'6", if he could get it together and do some things like 6'6", 290. That's a big guy. Imagine him and Raekwon Davis next to each other. That's pretty big off defensive line, right? It's a nice front. At least it looks scary, But but what happened? I saw his film against the Patriots, and he did a couple things. He knocked one of the guards down, so he's powerful. Like I said before, and he has some plays, but he also gets blocked. Sometimes he gets a little tired. I saw one time they bended him a little bit, and so he has to work on some things. He definitely needs work. He's not completely perfected his craft, but it's interesting. I'm interested to see what Zach Sealer is gonna do, this upcoming season. And it's just exciting. Remember, you could break them down in a 4-3 or in a 3-4. So there might be more use of defensive linemen this year than there were last year. All right. So moving on, let's go. We picked up another D end in the draft, Jason Strowbridge. Jason Strowbridge, we got him in the fifth round from North Carolina and the Tar Heels. Right. We got him in the fifth round. Like I said, he is a smaller defensive end. Is kind of I really don't know where he's gonna fit. You know, he played D end in college and he played D tackle, so he can play both positions. But the thing is, he's a smaller guy, but he wins. You know, he wins matchups. You know, he's able to do different things. I think he'll come off the edge more than he'll go into D end because of his speed. And he's looking for a place on the rotation. You know, they have like it's like three strings. You know, you got the first string, the second string, and then it's not a third string, but like the second string gets mixed and matched. You know, things like that. But it just depends. I think he'll get maybe more playing time on certain games against certain offensive linemen that his skill set will be better served in the game. You know, so it's just interesting to see. I don't know what is gonna happen. You know, I gotta see him play more as well, you know, against the NFL competition. But he's definitely somebody intriguing, somebody that's trying to make the depth chart, trying to make the rotation after the starters, and maybe he'll be put in more on passing situations than run situations. Things like that. He's a experimental guy. Like they got to work, but in the Senior Bowl, he got a great week. He was beating a lot of people there, you know. And then we move on to the last defensive lineman that I'm gonna talk about today. We picked him up in the fifth round, Curtis Weaver. All right, this guy in college, he was a sack machine. He was off the edge. And I think he played a little D tackle too in Boise State. But I think he's gonna be more of a defensive end, and he's gonna be there on passing situations if he could do that, right? That was a big question. They had him ranked as a first to third rounder, and we got him in the fifth round, the bottom half of the fifth round, almost going into the sixth round. So I mean, in the interview, I saw he was pretty pissed, but he's explosive off the edge. He has speed and things like that. I mean, there's something there. He's interesting. You know, this guy. A lot of people said he should go in the first or to the third. We wind up getting him in the fifth. It might be a good value here, especially we need pass rushers. You know, we picked up Shaq Lawson, Emmanuel Ogbah. And we picked up those guys in free agency. We got Davis. We picked up Strowbridge and Curtis Weaver. We really don't have as of right now, like a sack guy. You know, Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogbah, they're more of run stuffers, but they get sacks. They both get like 6.5, they get like 5, 6, like that. So, we're like basically what's happening with Brian Flores is he's got to bring it out of them, get them from 6.5 maybe to 8, 9, 10, and then it'll be more explosive. Of course, the defense, you just don't get the sacks from the defensive line. You get them from linebackers, you can get them from cornerbacks, safeties, but it's as of right now we don't have a guy that's like a sack machine, so I think that they're adding them for situational. Like there's so many, so you should be able to depending on the situation, if it's a pass or a certain team, and things. It just gives you a lot of options if they can all work out. If they can all work out and go into the scheme, then they'll play good off of each other and they'll confuse offenses if there's so much rotation and they're able to do things. So that's it, man. Like I said before, the starting in the 3-4 should be Christian Wilkins, Devon Godchuk, Shaq Lawson, and then behind them you'll have Emmanuel Ogbah, Raekwon Davis, and then the other DN maybe Zach Sealer there, and then you got after that you got you still got Jason Strowbridge, Curtis Weaver, and in there if they could get in there, so that's the D line. I didn't include Van Noy or because they're linebackers. I'm gonna have them for the linebacker video. But it's very interesting to see. We got basically the only guys that are coming back from last season are Christian Wilkins and Devon Godchuk. Oh, we also got Avery Moss, but he had a pretty bad year last year. So he would have to have a big turnaround from last year to make it to the team this year. In the beginning, when he first got here, he was doing good, but then he fell off after. So with all the overhaul that we've gotten in the offseason, he might be the odd man out unless he could come through and destroy the practices, and get on there. But that's pretty much it, man. That's the defensive line chart. As of now, it's gonna be interesting. Remember, I think this year we're probably gonna have like 4 threes more, and we're gonna have more pieces to the puzzle. Okay, so it should be interesting. Okay. If you don't like what I said, if you like what I said, if you got comments, whatever, leave them down below. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Go Dolphins.